Star Wars 7x7, episode 2773. On Saturdays, we like to do a What to Watch Now themed episode, and considering that we've been talking about Cad Bane and there's a lot of excitement bubbling around his appearance in the Book of Boba Fett, I thought we might look at some essential Cad Bane episodes, because he's only appeared in 12 episodes across 4 story arcs in various animation stuff. So yeah, let's talk about what you might want to watch before you watch the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, as I said at the top, Cad Bane only appears in 12 episodes in animation across 4 story arcs. 3 of those arcs are in the Clone Wars, and 1 of them is in Star Wars The Bad Batch. I would say that if you are really interested in the character and you were not familiar with him at all, then, watching those 12 episodes between now and Wednesday, well, if you've got the time, go for it for sure. But if you just want to get a sampling of who this character is, then I can probably cut down the list for you. And it's a little hard to talk about his story arc appearances in the Clone Wars, because his very first appearance happened at the end of season 1, but that episode was actually the middle episode of a 3-episode story arc, and the other 2 episodes, the prequel and the sequel, if you will, actually show up in season 3. So that's weird. So the character is introduced at the end of season 1, but really his first complete story arc happens in the very first 3 episodes of season 2. Those episodes are Holocron, Heist, Cargo of Doom, and Children of the Force. And if there's one arc where I would recommend you watch the entire arc straight through, that's the one of the 4 that I would recommend, because you get an idea of what Cad Bane will do, and whether he has any limits. He really doesn't. We see him torture a Jedi to try to get that Jedi to open a holocron. We see him kidnap children on the orders of Darth Sidious, which he's fine with as long as he's getting paid enough for it. And we also learn that he's very cunning and ruthless and as tough an opponent for the Jedi as they come. This is the storyline I was talking about yesterday that connects Cad Bane and Ahsoka Tano, where he captured Ahsoka and was able to make Anakin open a Jedi holocron, or else Ahsoka would get killed by Cad Bane. And it's also the storyline where Sidious gets Cad Bane to be kidnapping Force-sensitive children and bringing them to Mustafar for nefarious purposes, of course. So yeah, that's what that storyline is about. The second storyline in which Cad Bane appears and is completed is the Ziro the Hutt storyline. It's the one that I just mentioned earlier that starts in the airing chronology as Hostage Crisis. That's season 1, episode 22, and it's finished by episode 8 in season 3 and episode 9 in season 3. That would be Evil Plans as episode 8 and Hunt for Ziro as episode 9. If you watch any of those, I would say that none of them are necessarily important to understanding the character of Cad Bane or enriching your experience of Cad Bane too much prior to checking out the finale of the Book of Boba Fett. But Hostage Crisis, that middle episode from season 1, episode 22, that one's good to watch because you see Cad Bane leading a team, so you know that he's not just a lone wolf, that he actually operates well within a whole structure, and you also get to see how deeply calculating he is, and also what a mercenary he is as well. Then in season 4, there is a 4-episode story arc. We actually talked about one of these episodes when we were doing the run-up to the Book of Boba Fett. So this is the story arc where Obi-Wan Kenobi poses as the bounty hunter Rako Hardeen in order to infiltrate a plot to kidnap and assassinate Chancellor Palpatine. It starts off with the 15th episode from season 4, that's called Deception, where Obi-Wan gets himself arrested and put in jail, and he happens to be in jail with this character Eval and also Cad Bane. Cad Bane's working on a plot to get Eval and himself busted out of the prison, which then involves Boba Fett creating some sort of prison fight distraction. And yeah, they escape, the 3 of them, Eval and Rako Hardeen, quote unquote, and Cad Bane. Also, Boba Fett escapes in that apparently as well, which we talked about in previous episodes of the podcast. And from there, episode 16 is Friends and Enemies, episode 17 is The Box, and episode 18 is Crisis on Naboo. If you are pressed for time, then I would say you can skip the first 2 episodes of that story arc and just watch The Box and Crisis on Naboo. The Box is a pretty intense episode. Basically, they arrive on Sereno, Count Dooku's home planet. This would be Reiko Hardeen, quote unquote, and Cad Bane and Eval. And Reiko and Cad Bane are just 2 bounty hunters out of 10 that have been brought to Sereno, and they're going to be put through a competition where only 5 bounty hunters are actually going to survive, and if they do, then they are going to be hired for a lucrative job, which is the job of assassinating or kidnapping and assassinating Chancellor Palpatine. So The Box is this series of trials that the bounty hunters have to pass with dioxin gas and crazy laser cutter things and target shooting and other thought puzzles and whatnot. And Crisis on Naboo is the final episode, which you get to see them try to execute the plot and how Cad Bane ultimately ends up getting captured and realizing that he's been had by Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end, and just how bitter he is about it. Even though we saw Cad Bane in prison at the beginning of the story arc in Deception, he hasn't been captured, at least on screen, in the Clone Wars, or at least captured and transferred into a prison. By the end of his other 2 story arcs, he has gotten away in those 2. So this is the first time that we actually see him successfully captured at the end of a story arc. And finally, there's the 2 episode story arc of Reunion and Bounty Lost that takes place in the Bad Batch. This is episodes 8 and 9 from season 1. Cad Bane only appears in the end of episode 8, where he kidnaps Omega, who is in Hunter's care, and he actually has a duel with Hunter, so you get to see that go down. And it's episode 9, Bounty Lost, that I think, if you are pressed for time, just check out that episode, because that's the episode that features the showdown between Cad Bane and Fennec Shand, which is really exciting and a very, very awesome action sequence. And it goes on for, much longer than you necessarily expect it to. And I mean that in the best way. Like, it's very inventive and creative and kinetic. It's really well done. So there you go. That is the deal with Cad Bane episodes in the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. If you are wanting to learn more about this character and watch him in action before we get to the Book of Boba Fett season finale, and I will have the list of episodes in the show notes and at the blog post for the show's episode at sw7x7.com as well. And that's going to do it for today's podcast. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.